Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a recap on the first wave of Monster High's Haunt Couture collection. These were the collector dolls released respectively in February, March, and April of this year. Um, Before we get into them, I just want to say thank you guys again for sticking around. Monster High content, I know it's not something I do very often, just because the reboot is barely starting, but I am excited after everything that we've seen for the past couple of days. So, I figured I'd record this and give us a little bit of something Monster High to, you know, reflect on, even if it's something a little bit more recent rather than like Gen 1. But before we get into it, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a video from me because, again, starting college, so, starting second semester of college, fall semester, video schedule is going to be a little wonky while I adjust to that. So make sure you also have those notifications on so that you do know when I post because I don't know when I'll be able to post. Okay, also, in case you're new here, my name's Jade. This is Collectorspace, a very unorganized, very free-form toy channel. I don't limit myself to just dolls, but that is my primary focus, so, you know, yeah. So, the Haunt Couture dolls. I believe Frankie was February. They were the first character to release. I will be going over them in release order since I finally have the luxury of actually having all three of them. That's something that not a lot of members of the community are fortunate enough to have, which is unfortunate. Again, scalpers kind of sort of ruin everything. But I have all three, so we're going to go over all three and we're going to talk about them as well as the new Monster High stuff that's been, being slowly revealed to us over the internet the past few days. So, yeah, let's take a look at Frankie. Alrighty, so Frankie was the first character to release from the Haunt Couture collection. For me, they were the last character that I got just because I missed out on them, but my mom was able to get them for me and did not tell me about it for months. She saved it as a surprise for my birthday. Um, Frankie, honestly, they were my favorite Haunt Couture design when they were first revealed, like all of the dolls, but I think they're actually my second favorite now that we've seen all five. My first favorite is still Clawdeen, but I love Frankie and I'm so happy to have them in my collection. Um, they have the fabric backpack, which opens at the top with the faux zipper. I think that's tinsel woven into it. It's like a type of ribbon. I see it at the hobby store quite often. Same with like the pockets with the faux zippers. I do wish Mattel would eventually get the same budget that MGA has, but that's a pipe dream. They're a publicly owned company. They never will be on MGA's level. But for Mattel, this is good. Um, Now they have the charm bracelet with the vacuumized metal skelette on it, which is absolutely adorable. I love it. They have the tinsel woven into the cuffs of their sleeves as well as their undershirt. They have the chrome bolts. They have the skelette earrings, which are a reference to their original earrings. And then they have the vacuumized metal hair clip and the high voltage hair clip. And for some reason, I thought that this was metallic for the longest time, and then I actually got Frankie in person, and it is not metallic, so I am a little disappointed about that. And their belt, their harness, they are plastic, um, as I would expect them to be. This is a Monster High doll, not a Rainbow High doll. And the shoes with the really cool switches that I am afraid of breaking, so I just kept the rubber bands on them because, I have dexterity issues. If I can accidentally break something, I probably will. So I just left the rubber bands on so that they're immobilized. I don't want to risk it with Frankie, especially because with Haunt Couture, it's like it's a doll that can't easily be replaced if something happens to them, because they are so expensive on the secondhand market. It is actually terrifying. And face-up wise, loving the fact that Frankie has thicker brows with this Monster High comeback. It looks really good on them. Some people hate it. Those people are wrong, in my opinion. Of course, I'm also like Frankie Stein's #1 fan, so well, self-proclaimed. It's a fan club. There are other Frankie Stein #1 fans out there, um, and we all equally share them. But yeah, as a Frankie Stein hardcore fan, I love them, and Frankie can do no wrong in my eyes. There actually aren't any Frankie dolls from like Gen 1 or even of the Gen 3 dolls that we've seen that I hate. Like I actually love every single Frankie doll that exists in Generation 1 and every single one that exists so far that we've seen in Gen 3. Gen 2, I love Dance the Fright Away, but the 2016 reboot just wasn't really my cup of tea when it came to Frankie dolls. Like, I think that they lacked diversity in their color palette, and it was simplified a little too much. Like, it was overwhelming. There was no varying color palettes. And also, I just not a huge fan of whenever Frankie has like the lemon yellow. But that I digress. Haunt Couture Frankie has their diary. They also came with a certificate of authenticity signed by Rebecca Shipman. Um, I was originally going to do a video reading all of the diaries, but we would be here forever if I were to do that. I will, however, read one little important section in here if I can find it, because it does give us some insight. A lot of people were saying that Frankie is the one that broke up Deuce and Cleo. Here's the answer for those of you who missed out on Haunt Couture Frankie from the February 2nd diary entry. It was, "Oh my bolts, the minute Cleo answered the door, I knew it was bad. She tried to put up a royal front, but eventually she gave up and told us that she and Deuce had broken up. No wonder she had been canceling practices left and right. Deuce's snakes had been more irritable than usual." In other words, Frankie didn't know about their breakup until Cleo told um, the entire Fear Leading squad about it when they went to go visit her. So yeah, let's put the Frankie stole Deuce away from Cleo theory to rest, because that is very much inaccurate information. And the diaries are always there to clear things up. Obviously, they do come with a brush. Nothing special. It's vacuumized metal. It's really cool. I love it. It's very high shine. As far as Frankie goes, while they are out here, I do want to talk a bit about the stuff that is releasing for Gen 3, because again, I inhabit the internet just as everyone else in the Monster High fandom does, and I did see a lot of the Gen 3 leaks, the Creepover Party, the Budget doll, the Core Line slash Coffin Bean doll. I have thoughts. None of them are negative, by the way. I actually really love Gen 3 Frankie. The more I see of them, the more I'm like, why can't these dolls be on shelves already? Because I desperately want them in hand already. Like, I don't mind that they don't come with brushes. The stands thing, I hope that they can stand on their own. Some people say that they might be able to, so we shall see. Dolls that stand on their own are a new concept, at least in terms of what I usually collect. But you know what? If it means that they actually are able to be photographed without having to have a stand around them, then that will be fun for Instagram and whatnot. Personally, of the Frankie dolls that we have seen, which there are 3 that have leaked, biggest fan of their budget doll, actually. And also Creepover. Like, I love their basic doll. Don't get me wrong. Love it. It's their core look. but something about the creep over Frankie and the budget Frankie that we're getting this year just really make me excited in a way about Monster High that I haven't been excited about since I was a child. And it just, I don't know. So having like this adult Frankie, um, like for adult collectors, and then I have the creep reduction, and then there's the new ones coming out, and the new ones look absolutely adorable. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's not Monster High, it's too cutesy." This is pretty cutesy in my opinion. I mean, like this is I look at this version of Frankie and it reminds me of a K-pop idol, their specific outfit. And I mean that with love because K-pop idols do usually have really good fashion sense. Side note, very, very big side note. I don't know what it is with the doll community, but like if you compare a doll's fashion to like a K-pop idol, they'll like get all defensive and lose their shit, but that's not a bad thing. K-pop idols usually have really good fashion sense. Like they're really good style-wise. So I'm okay if like Frankie Stein dresses like a K-pop idol because hello, it's pretty, it's fashion, it's glorious. Anyway, I've spent way too long on Frankie, about 8 minutes, so we're gonna move on to the next ghoul and talk about them as well. Alrighty, the icon herself, Clawdeen Wolf, was the next Haunt Couture doll to be released in the lineup. She was revealed fully in February, but she actually did not launch on Mattel Creations until March. I remember being so excited for her, and I was actually like genuinely sad that a lot of people did not like her design because she is my favorite Haunt Couture doll. And I guess part of that is due to the fact that she was like my first ever collector level Monster High doll that I was able to afford. But genuinely, Clawdeen is like one of the most well designed dolls from the line. And they're all very well designed. Even Laguna, I know some people don't like Laguna, but like Haunt Couture is very well designed. There was a lot of love and a lot of work clearly put into it. And it really shows the best with Clawdeen, in my opinion. Like, she is absolutely stunning. I also, side note, finally found a pose that I like for her with like one sleeve of her jacket off. It just looks really cool this way. I can't believe I never thought about it before. And it's also easier to have her purse on over there, which her purse is the only sculpted bag in Wave 1. Laguna also has a sculpted bag, but we also don't know when Laguna is coming out. Um, this is also like a reference to a Moschino bag, I believe. And it's also, supposed to be her first wave jacket, but upcycled. And I love that reference. I love her ring that says Monster. I love her bracelet that has the little fashion trunk on it. Just everything about this doll, absolute perfection in my opinion. A lot of people say theirs are bald, but like I I don't see the bald. Like this is pretty dense rooting. And the fact that all of these dolls have saran hair, including the pink sections of Clawdeen, like this is cat silk saran. Like this is pretty good. Which for those of you who aren't like very well versed in doll hair types, Saran does make fantasy colors. Saran hair is one of the highest quality doll hairs. A lot of doll collectors really like it. Bratz used it a lot. And a lot of people only think it only comes in natural colors. And for the most part, that is like the majority of Saran, like what they produce. But they do have some, it's a very limited color palette, but cat silk saran is a subgenre of it, or subtype, I suppose, much like kiwi nylon is a subtype of regular nylon. And cat silk is the fantasy colors. Plus, I think white. White is also cat silk. And I wonder if the Gen 3 dolls are going to have cat silk because, Haunt Couture Clawdeen has it in her pink sections. Draculaura also has it in her pink sections. And Reproduction Laguna also has it in her blue sections. So, it's very possible that we could be getting Cat Silk Saran for like Gen 3, and I would love that. Because it's soft, it feels kind of like Kanekalon, it behaves a lot like nylon. It's weird. It's a weird hair type, but it's actually good. Like, it's actually an okay hair type. I am here for it. I'm glad that they used it on her rather than polypropylene because Lord knows I do not like poly hair. But yeah, that is Clawdeen. I like I've seen the Gen 3 leaks of her. I don't like that so many people are hating on her because, you know, like there's a difference between not liking and then just like outright being foolish and ignoring the love and care put into a doll, because it's very clear that Rebecca and her team cared about Gen 3 Clawdeen in her design process. Like, she's cohesive in the new dolls from what we've seen. She's cute, but a lot of the issues that I've seen people have is the fact that she is too cute. And I'm like, Clawdeen is, at least according to her diary in Gen 1, and also I think Gen 3 it carries over as well. She's 15. She doesn't have to be a runway model all the time. I think she should be allowed to be a kid, especially as a doll that represents a young black girl. I think it's okay that she is, a child and looks the part. I mean, this Clawdeen also looks like a child, but I still like I don't get why that's a particular issue that people have with her. Like, she's a 15-year-old. She's supposed to look like a 15-year-old. Um I don't know. That's just the autism brain. That is just me being very much stuck in my ways of understanding the world. I personally don't see why people have so many issues with a child character looking and acting and dressing like a child, but I digress. Um, my one gripe about Gen 3 Clawdeen, though, is that the bun on top of her hair does not seem to be done properly, so I will probably have to redo it when I get her. But I am looking forward to Gen 3 Clawdeen's release because she is genuinely adorable. And with Haunt Couture Clawdeen out of the way, it is time to talk about Draculaura. Alrighty, and Draculaura, she was the third and final, at the moment, Haunt Couture doll to release. She released in April. I received mine in early May. I I think I already told the story in a previous video, but like it was right before class when she showed up, and I was like, I don't want to go to class now because I had just gotten her, and I was like, but here she is. I obviously survived the bloodbath in order to get her because she was the fastest to sell out of the three, and it's simply because she is Draculaura. Draculaura historically is the most popular Monster High character in terms of sales, in terms of how many fans she has, and I don't blame people. A lot of people say Draculaura is overrated. They're wrong. They are very wrong. I think it's just people underestimate the mass appeal of a bubblegum goth vampire. Which, by the way, I rewatched the Face Off episode of Monster High. It's in season 11. Um, like, season 11 of the show Face Off, like the special effects makeup competition. And one of the designers, Natalie Viegas, stated that Draculaura's official aesthetic is bubblegum goth. So I guess she is not officially a Lolita fashion doll, which I'm okay with. Personally, I never thought that the Lolita label really fit her because she's just, you know, she doesn't really fit a lot of what I see people talk about when it comes to standards in Lolita fashion. So bubblegum goth, that makes a lot more sense. Anyway, Draculaura is probably one of my favorite, like, from the Haunt Couture lines. She is my favorite, like, Draculaura doll from the Gen 1 canon to exist. she's absolutely stunning. I love her hair. Mine didn't have super bad box hair. It's a little frizzy at the bottom, but like I frequently spray it down with water to try and tame it, just a little light misting, and it seems to work for maintenance. I do need to do it again soon. Um, her leggings, this leg is a little loose because she fell. That's the one thing that sucks about keeping her out of box. Although, I suppose even if she was in box, she runs the risk of her joints becoming loose. She got knocked over during a thunderstorm recently. There was like a really loud clap of thunder that shook the house, and she fell over. So I guess Draculaura does not like thunderstorms. At least in my experience. She fell over immediately after it happened, and I was like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" She is. She is. Just her knee joint is a little loosey goosey now. It's not super loose, but it's a little like not as stiff as it was before, which is unfortunate. She didn't fall off of my shelf, but she did fall like forward and she hit her leg because it was bent like this. So yeah, that's the downside. And I love that this Draculaura is slightly shorter than the other ghouls, even compared to the other Gen 1 Draculaura. It's an ever so slight change, but she is on a slightly more petite body compared to the other ghouls. It's not just the shoes either. Like I took her shoes off at one point to see. I posted a picture of it on Twitter a long while back, and she's shorter. I wonder if this body is one that they're going to use for any of the Gen 3 Monster High characters. Of course, with the chest articulation that we now know that they have. These dolls don't have chest articulation, but we now know that the Gen 3 dolls do, which is interesting. I love that they're going that dynamic, though. And I love, like, side note, absolutely adore Gen 3 Draculaura. She is so precious, and I just need every doll of her that ever exists like right now, because I love her color palette, I love her silhouette, I love her hair. I love everything about Gen 3 Draculaura. And I also just really love Draculaura, and it's impossible for me to not like Draculaura. Like, she's just such a sweet character in terms of design. And like, I know Gen 3 Draculaura is a lot less like we know her to be in terms of character. Like, she's supposed to be um like a character that you have to warm up to, but I was sold on the dry humor aspect of her. Like, I absolutely, like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, she's supposed to be sweet, she's supposed to be bubbly." She's been alive for 1600 years. If I were alive that long, I would not be sweet and bubbly to every single person I met. I would have to have people warm up to me. I would have to warm up to people. So I totally get where she's coming from in Gen 3. Like, she and she's still a sweetheart to her friends when she eventually does, get to know them better and warms up to them. So like, she's still the sweet Draculaura we know and love. It's just she has an icy exterior, and I love that added depth that they give to her, because especially towards the end of Gen 1's run, and especially with Gen 2 of Monster High, the characters started to get a little flat and lose the depth that they initially had. So I like that we're getting it back, and we're getting it back in a different form. Anyway, I've rambled on enough about Draculaura. It's time to give my final thoughts on Haunt Couture as a line. Alrighty, so for the first ever collector level Mattel line that I've ever been able to collect, not bad. I love Haunt Couture. It's probably one of my favorite things to ever come from the Monster High franchise as a whole. Especially because, like, while I love some of the Collector dolls, well, I like some of the Collector dolls, I don't love them. But this, I love. Like, there's just something about seeing elevated versions of my favorite characters that is so special to me. And it means the world that I was able to actually, afford them. Because in years past, like, I would never have been able to do so. And especially, like, they mean a lot more to me than a lot of the other Monster High dolls in my collection, which is saying something because I do have special meaning for several of the Monster High dolls in my collection, but like growing up, I always missed out on like the Comic Con dolls and even some of the retail exclusives when Monster High Gen 1 was on store shelves. So I just, there's a sentimental factor with this, and I love it. Were they worth $75 each, 86 after tax? I I don't know. I mean, for a collector doll that comes with really only a stand brush, purse, and diary, I don't think maybe 86 is exactly what they should have retailed at. I think maybe 65 to 70 post tax would have been totally worth it. But even then, like having them in person, it's, to me anyways, it's everything.